Hello chess friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Firstly, I'd like to thank Karan Mishra who has donated a very generous amount to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your donation. This really means a lot for us and it helps to keep the lights on. So, here we go. I thought yesterday's video got some good response of queen sacrifices. We looked at some historic queen sacrifices and people really liked it. So I thought let's continue this topic. Let's look at some more queen sacrifices from the history of chess. And here we have a game of Henry Joseph Blackburn, the Black Death of chess. He's playing white. His king is under check. It's white to play and find the brilliant combination that Blackburn played here in order to win the game. So put yourself in Blackburn's shoes and try to find the move that white should play. There you go. Queen sacrifice to start with the game. I think that's a really good way to start the video. Queen takes on f4, sacrificing the queen. Now what's the point? Well, the thing is, after this, there is an unstoppable checkmate that will happen. So bishop to e7 is what the engines suggest, which is obviously totally a disastrous move. And let me just show you we'll go to bishop e7 afterwards, but the obvious continuation which happened was bishop into b4. This happened in the game, but now rook takes on h5. Basically, the rook wants to go to a h8 square with an unstoppable checkmate. This can be captured. The bishop can throw itself, we can take it. And now engines are suggesting moves like queen j3 just in order to prolong the game a little. But basically, in a move or two, rook h8 is coming and there is no stopping for it. So going back after the move queen into f4, engines are actually suggesting bishop to e7, just retreating the bishop. But even in that case, we don't really have to move the bishop or don't have to worry about the queen. In fact, rook takes h5 is another queen sacrifice where we offer him the queen. He can take the queen, he can take the rook, he can take the bishop. All of that is super bad. For example, if he takes the bishop, we just replace that with the queen, and the queen now becomes like a dark square bishop. It acts like a bishop, and this is a mate. So, of course, that will be winning if he just takes our queen over here. Rook h8 wins. Basically, his dark squares are so weak that even with the best defense, he's not going to survive. So, excellent move to start with. Queen takes f4, sacrificing the queen. Alright, let's jump on to a second queen example of the day. Here comes our next example. White to play, win the game. And when there is so much of build up against the king, around the king, there has to be something. For example, a queen, a bishop, and a rook alongside the attacking advantage that we have is all because of our pawn on g6. So we have basically four attacking pieces over here. Something will happen if there are so many attacking pieces around the king. You just have to calculate it. So white to play, win the game. Try to calculate the brilliant combination that exists over here. All right, basically there is a secret formula, more or less, not really secret. If there are around three attacking pieces in a position, more or less your attack is going to be successful. In this position, there are four attacking pieces, namely the bishop, queen, the pawn. I do include the pawn because he's a super important member of this attack, as well as the rook. So there are four attacking pieces around the king with only one defender, which can easily be deflected. So, how do we deflect the knight? It starts with queen to h7 check. It turns out that this is the it has to be captured basically, because otherwise, for example, if over here, I'm not sure about the mate. I think that there are mate over here that can exist, but even takes, and you can even pick up the queen. I think there has to be a checkmating attack with the move bishop at 6 as well. But anyway, at the least, we are winning the queen, and this is super good for us. So going back in this position after this move, queen at 7, his other option is to take the queen, but here comes the point. Now we use our pawn, capture the knight. The king is now forced to go in the corner thanks to our rook's control. And here comes a checkmate on the back rank. Again, when there are so many attacking pieces, specifically 3 and 4 attacking pieces around the king, there has to be something. Always look for something when there is a nice collection of pieces around the king. So, jumping on to a third queen sacrifice. Here's another example of the same queen sacrifice for a tactical motive this time. And again, it's a well-known motive which I have covered previously on my channel. It's called as line clearance. all everything is set. All you needed is a few lines open for your pieces to give a checkmating attack to the opponent's king, and this is how it can be done. White to play, win the game. This should not take more than 5 seconds for you guys. I'm gonna jump on to the next example very quickly. That is a memorable one, of course. So let's solve this one very fast. White plays and mates black. All right, line clearance it is. Queen takes knight. Basically, this is line clearance. It's because it opens up the h file. It clears the h file for our rook to give a checkmate. And this has to be working only in the case when some of the piece is going to control the diagonals. In this case, our bishop controls the diagonal, which means this works. So h into g6, and now comes rook f3. The rook is going to swing to h3 with an unstoppable checkmate. It turns out that there is nothing that he can do. He can give up some pieces. We can just grab it up, and no matter what he does over here, just a mate is unstoppable because the king is totally trapped, and that is a wonderful checkmate. Alright, now let's get to our next example, a really beautiful one and a historic one, of course. So, a queen for the king, this one is. It's black to play, and black was none other than the legendary chess player Robert James Fischer, Bobby Fischer. So, this is one of his famous game against Letelier, I suppose. Yes, it is René Letelier. A queen for the king is the title of the game for obvious reasons. Black to play, win the game. Can you find the move that black played here? Like always, go ahead, pause the video, and try to find the move that black should play. Queen takes on f4. Queen captures the pawn, sacrifices herself. What's the point? Why did Bobby give up a full queen? Well, the point is that the king captures the queen. Basically, it was in this position that his opponent resigned. But if this was captured, then bishop to h6 is it turns out that it's a direct checkmate. Everything is perfectly controlled. Beautiful, beautiful mate. Right near the center of the board, of course, is very rare and beautiful. So, it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, this is not forced. So, you might ask, what if the king goes back? But in that case, black's knight create rampant now. Knight g4 check. The bishop is pinned, can't capture. He has to move. Now comes knight e3 check. Again, the king has to keep protecting the bishop. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of material. Now comes knight d4, putting pressure on the bishop. You can't defend it from here because knight attacks, so the queen has to step in the corner in order to protect the bishop. But then would have happened knight to g4. Again, it's very tough for now for white now to hold on to the extra bishop. One of the only square is go over here, but then takes. If here, then this is a checkmate, and if over here, then just a check followed by a simple checkmate. All of this was calculated by his opponent, and his opponent thought after the beautiful move, queen takes f4, it's time to resign, and Bobby won the game in style. And this is one of my favorite games. In fact, it's one of my favorite Kings Indian games, and this is one of the beautiful endings, one of my favorite beautiful endings from his book, My 60 Memorable Games. Alright, let's jump on to our next historical queen sacrifice. Playing white was the reigning world champion Magnus Carlsen, and playing black was Sergei Karyakin. You can see black has his own threats. Queen g2 is one of them. Rook a1. Black has some really big threats over here, which white has to deal. But of course, dealing that, everyone has their own style of dealing. Some people don't like passivity at all, and Magnus is one of those. In fact, this checkmate was so beautiful, and of course, it was very memorable for Magnus himself because he kept his title using this combination that many people call this as Magnus Carlsen mate or Magnus mate. So, white to play and find the beautiful move that Magnus Carlsen played here and kept his title. Here comes the move, queen to h6. What a beautiful queen sacrifice. The queen just sacrifices herself, and this ends the game. In fact, this is where Karyakin resigned at this moment because of king takes. Then there comes rook to h8, check, and mate. Everything is perfectly controlled. And of course, if pawn takes, the problem is now this has been opened up. So just rook takes f7. There is a checkmate. Wonderful checkmate. Wonderful build up by Magnus, and a very memorable one for himself. I think this is one of the most famous queen sacrifice in his entire career. and this came at a point when he needed to keep his title, and he did it successfully with this. So let's jump on to our next example, our last one. Everyone says the same thing, the same damn thing. If you want to improve in chess, study the classics. Now, what are classic? Classic games are basically historical chess games that have great instructive value, and although the games themselves do not replicate, the ideas do. And here is a great example of this one. It was played by Nicholas Rosalimo. The person with the Rosalimo attack is this guy, and in fact, this is a page from the game of Frank James Marshall, the gold coin game. In fact, the gold coin game was also replicated by Alexander Elyakin in one of his games. He has a similar move that is going to be played here. So, white to play and play the most beautiful move you can find in this position. It's really wonderful. And this game, although it did not got some gold coins, I think this one also deserved some coins because of its artistic value. So white copying the great gold coin game played in this position, queen to g6. The queen is hanging, and there are two pieces that can capture the queen, the pawn on f7 and the pawn on h7. Of course, let's go from the beginning. What's the threat? The threat is to go queen into h7, checkmate. So of course the queen has to be captured or the knight has to be captured. Now, let's have a look at h takes. This is the simplest of all of them. Now the knight covers the square. So all you have to do is swing the rook to h3. This was a line clearance and that comes as a checkmate. Excellent example. What if f takes? Again, what you need to do is line clearance. So knight takes g6, check. Only move is to capture. And rook h3 again using the line clearance just cleared by the queen sacrifice, we give a mate. Going back in this position, there is also something else. He can also take this guy. But then what do you play over here? Well, it turns out that there are so many continuations. Simplest one is just capture. And if here, then just check. This is more than enough to win the game. Checkmate. And even if you play something like this, I think you're still winning with the idea like something like rook g3, he defends, and knight takes. This is too much for him. He's going to have to give up the queen and takes. I think there must be some other ways to end the game in a quicker way, but even this wins a lot of material and of course the game. So I'm going to show you again to it. Queen to g6, a beautiful move, taking a page out of the chess history. A move very similar to the gold coin game, the historic gold coin game. So this were the queen sacrifices in today's video. Hope you love this. Hope you enjoy this. I extremely enjoyed going through this collection of queen sacrifices. So thank you so much, and thank you Karan Mishra again for your generous donation. I'm gonna post the number, the Google Pay number, which you can use and contribute to our channel. Thank you so much. See you guys until next time.